My name is W. Hockheim, and we are going to cover a rare subject, knife ground fighting. Knife ground fighting. Most people have never heard that term, but knife ground fighting, or what I like to call ground zero knife fighting, happens so very, very often in real life. Some knife fights begin on the ground. Two people fight, wrestle, and usually they trip, because your human instinct is to stay off the ground, and mobility is an essential aspect of combat. So participants fall, as I've seen in work cases many, many times as policemen. They'll pull out their knives on the ground, and the entire knife fight will occur on the ground. We have all kinds of terrain problems. We have curbs, we have sidewalks, brick walls, coffee tables. Anything could cause you to trip and fall, and at any time in a knife fight, you might have to do something down there, and of course the elements change. Some things remain the same, but some things don't. It is like, in some ways, what you would consider to be the ground fighting that you'll find in the martial arts, but it's different, it's quicker. There's a very sharp tool that's involved. Now, real people who land on the ground have guns, have pepper spray, have knives. It's a whole different aspect than referee tap-out submission fighting. And these things need to be taught to police officers to save their life, to citizens and soldiers. And in the history, military history, over and over again, we see accounts of soldiers in all the theaters of war who are in combat and wind up fighting on the ground. And so it's an aspect, an arena of combat that is sorely overlooked, that really needs to be addressed realistically. The topic that I'd like to discuss now is knife ground fighting. I call it ground zero knife fighting. And it's important because if you study the annals of military history combat, if you study the criminal justice system and how crimes are committed, the acts of criminals, and put that in with the chaos of combat, the terrain, tripping, falling, you will discover that all kinds of fighting, as well as knife fighting, can occur on the ground. And we're very accustomed to a certain kind of submission referee-based fighting, but in the no-holds-barred world where people have pepper spray, guns, knives, it changes the complexion, and you must add this reality factor into what you're already practicing, as well as learn from the beginning right here. Now, we have Tom Barnhart stretched out here as the anatomical man, because I need to make an important point to you, that ground zero fighting is many different positions. You could throw the individual down, and you could be fighting from this position. He's this way, I'm here. You can be fighting over here. You could be fighting him here, as you have landed it and thrown him down. You could be fighting him over here. You could be fighting in this thing. You could be fighting over here, one leg in, one leg out. Yes, one of these 10 or 11 positions is something you might be more used to. And yes, one of these 10 or 11 positions, just one possibility, might be in this particular position. You could be fighting him over here, and you can be fighting him over here. So you can see that real fighters are not just concerned with positioning themselves into the guard or the mount. That's just 2 of 10 or 11 possibilities. And let me tell you that some of those other 11 possibilities can be more combative in a street violent situation. And so I also want to say that ground zero knife fighting includes, as the way I like to teach it, knee-high fighting. You know, you trip, you should try to get up as quickly as possible. Sometimes you've been stabbed, you're down on one knee, and it also involves knee-high fighting versus a standing person, and also being prone versus a standing person. So if you're off your feet and you're fighting, this is ground zero type of tactics, you know. First thing, that little series I like to show comes to us from actual military combat, and we'll call it, I like to call it a kick the face series, because instrumental in diminishing the opponent is the ability to kick him in the face, and it is a side-by-side encounter, which is another one of the many possibilities that we can happen. So we'll turn this way right here, And the first little set I'd like to expose you to, and then for you to practice on, is our in the clutches of, side by side, taken from real combat situations. Here we are. Now, one of the first thing I'd like to expose you to here is I would like to, as we do stand up, to try to attack this weapon-bearing limb. But perhaps my strength is not allowing me to do this. So I will raise my knee and pump. You see, this pumping action will help me defeat his strength and get a weapon-bearing limb attack that may diminish his grip and help me win this fight later. So I'm here. I raise the knee up, and there's my first shot. From next, I raise up and I do as powerful a mule kick as possible. The first little title for the Kick the Face series, you know. This should be pretty effective. But as you can see in our potential follow-ups, it might not always be as effective as you wish. And then, I'm going to take, since I've done this mule kick, now keep in mind, that's looking like this. It's a pretty awesome kick right here. Next thing I'm going to do is release, use a back kick, so to speak, to release the grip on that knife, which may be severely diminished, you know, after you mule kicked them in the face like that. And we'll end the scenario, this particular one, with an escape. I am going to do what I tend to call, for people's memory's sake, the curly shuffle. So that as an escape pattern, because if I show this technique to people and I tell them, okay, get up, this is typically what I see. They get up like this, exposing their back to the enemy. And like I always say, it ain't over till it's over. And that's not a safe way to get out of the situation. So if I'm here, I pump, I kick, I release, I may strike again, and now I'm going to use this footwork to gain distance and space, never turning my back on the opponent as I begin to try to get up. So controlling the weapon bearing, still assessing the situation right here. I might have to go to this next position, which I want to teach you, is just a ground trapping technique. I'm here, and I leap to here to protect myself against that weapon bearing limb, and then I've hopefully got my diminished person. Another subtlety in ground fighting, it's a knee strike, but it's not. You see, I have my knee in a solar plexus. I'm disrupting his wind. I'm creating this great discomfort. I may have my shin compressed across his chest, but see, that is essentially a knee strike right there, but it's pressure, see. And then I'll come in and try to finish the opponent. So we're here. I pump. I kick. I release. Wound again, and escape and assess. Kind of get back. I may choose now to say, whoa, I'm okay, and try to get away from the situation. Or I may have to, go in and finish the bad guy by going back in and further stabbing him. Here's one side by side in this Kick the Face series that doesn't evolve the walk away escape, but rather you see an opportunity, you seize the moment by moving in. But it's still in this Kick the Face series. I love to call it that because it emphasizes that you're kicking the face and diminishing the fighter's ability. I'm here. I do the pump. I do this kick, and I'll do a back release. This is the one we just did. Now from here, I'm going to raise up this knee and capture this arm. Now I'm free. I can put this hand to help me get out. If he is even halfway up in position here, I'm going to use another kick to bring him over. And now I've got him splayed out. I can come in, kill. The British SAS often have developed the commando kill through the ear. There's a clear pathway to the brain. But in actuality, there are some bone levels protecting the brain here. And it is not as clear a path as it is if you deliver the knife, say, through the eye or up the nose. You'll have to hammer that knife in at this point. I say that because a lot of old military manuals give you a false sense of success with some of these techniques. Let's just take a look at this one particular version here. We're here. I pump. I kick, release. Raise up this knee to contain that weapon-bearing limb. If he's partially up or otherwise, I kick over. See, I raise myself up, and then I finish him. Now here's another version of this that you can do. We're here. I do the knee pump to get the diminished weapon-bearing limb. I'll do the face kick. Retract the leg. Raise up this knee. Some people are adept enough to get a knee strike in there, but I don't, always tell people to do that. And then, now look at, I captured this. He's still got a grip on me here. As I raise up, I'm going to push and raise over. And now I've got this situation, and this is all predicated, folks, on me kicking him in the head. Remember, that's the diminished fighter theory. And none of these things probably can fall into place for you, as you'll see when I show you the counter to this, without that head kick. If you want to win the fight, if you want to dominate the opponent, you have got to diminish his ability. I call it the diminished fighter theory. And the quick way to do that is to attack the head. And if we were in combat with someone who's suddenly beginning a fight and he's 110% enraged, he's full of energy, he's full of rage usually, and he's a very difficult opponent to defeat. You can't go in there and arm wrestle somebody like that. You can't hope that you can defeat somebody. Everybody's different. Everybody's different sizes, strengths, abilities. You have to cheat. Cheating should be a part of every aspect of every fighting training. That's how you beat the big guys. You cheat. And one of the ways to cheat is to immediately diminish the fighter, usually by a head strike. Sometimes it could be a knife fighting, a cut on a muscle tendon. It could be a cut on a blood vein. But pretty much the head is the computer, and if you can splash the brains in some way, you've begun to diminish fighter. After this happens, suddenly he's functioning at 95%. Whack him again, cut him again, suddenly he might be at 80%. His instincts are slow, his reflexes are diminished, and then suddenly, techniques of all types can occur. If you hit a guy hard enough, you could tie his sneaker laces together while he's so stunned. I mean, how's that for a possible scenario of understanding how you can diminish a fighter? Last tactics I showed you were to be done when the good guy, or you, is on the ground, on the side, when your knife is up, That's what it's all about. This particular time, here are some things you can do. Very similar to the other one, when your knife side is captured down on the ground. And it's still in the kick to face series. We're here, and I would like to try to injure this weapon. I may have to raise up and try to get a little action here, but I have to be careful about this knife. Here is our kick that hopefully changes his world. And I'm coming back, and if he's hopefully stunned, now I raise this up, my leg again, to try to capture or trap his weapon-bearing limb, and now I get the release. Still holding on for dear life. Maybe here I can attack this a little bit, raise this up. I'm not going to release this, obviously, because that would mean I'd be freeing his hand like we did otherwise. So I don't do this kick. Instead, I just raise up and try to finish him this way. Let's take a look at this again. We're here. I wound up in this position here. Here's the mule kick that I like to, try to create the diminished fighter. From there, I'll raise up on this, get my release, use this to raise up, and then finish him this way. So that's a tactic that you can do when the good guy has his knife on the ground side of the side-by-side fight. Now, I'd like to show you a potential counter if you're on the wrong end of this kick. This time I'll be knife down. But this is a simple martial art movement that just blocks across the top of your face. Let's just say he's pumped down on my knife, but he's just only cut a portion of my forearm, Here comes this leg, which now, as it's coming through, freeze. I do this. to try to deflect the kick downward, And here we are in this position. From here, I raise up, and I'm going to essentially do a ground round style kick that scoots me all the way over. Now, this particular time, he let go, which many people might. Worst case scenario, he's hung on. Now from here, I'm going to try to use his leg as a releasing technique. Just grab a hold of it again. If it doesn't seem like it's working at this point, now I'm going to exercise a couple of knee strikes to come around, work on that head to get the diminished fighter, pull out, which I'm getting some good cuts down on this side, and then finish the opponent. So, basically speaking, just go ahead, get up and roll off over the side here. I'll show you this independently so you can see it this way. I'm on the ground, and here comes this kick. And I'm blocking it down and getting my head out of the way as best I can. So now I've kind of caught a little wedge on this leg right here. I rear up in my elbow, and then I'm doing a big round kick as far over as I can. From here, I'm going to try to use his leg, if he's still got me, to retract and escape, release that grab, and then continue to fight from there. So there is a side-by-side counter to the face kick series. History shows us that another common motion on the part of a side-by-side combatant is going to be that they will instinctively, even the untrained, begin to try to distance themselves from you and your knife. And this is most typically done by the use of his legs. And there's not too much you can do about it except try to destroy his legs as best you can. There's some serious blood veins and tendons and muscles in there, and he's actually getting you into what we previously called the curly shuffle kind of escape. So if we're here on the ground, he brings his feet up to my pelvis, and typically, we'll try to somewhat kick, but actually start to push me away so that he could get away from, this blade. But instead, he's bringing his vitals up to, my knife. And, we showed some of these releasing techniques. This angle is almost a releasing technique like this, and you would hope that you have enough strength to come in and start attacking these legs. This is a very common response. After you've done this, you can even hang on a little bit. See, this is also, it's in reverse grip. You have all this cutting work that you can do on the forearm. In a saber grip, you might not. You might have to, try to turn the saber end down and cut on these legs. But you can shave and work. The saber grip, you say, cut, so kick at me again. So here I am trying to work on disabling these legs. I will then sort of curly shuffle out. He may hang on, I might try to rip it out, and now I'm still in a better, more advantageous position. Even if he's hanging on to my hand at this point, I can do my step over here. He's hanging on to my hand, I can come over here, and now I can continue, the fight from this position. It is very common for the opponent to kick at you, to push you away in side-by-side combat. So take advantage of those targets that are so vital being brought up closer to your knife. I've been teaching this next type of technique, standing and on the ground, for years now, and it's popped up in a major motion picture, so I've kind of given it that nickname of this picture. And this is when you're in the clutches of, situation, and you're at ground zero. I can't, Tom here is a power lifter, and he does, over 300 pounds powerlifting. It's very difficult to defeat this guy's strength. Now, this is where he's building most of his strength, but out here, it's not a 300-pound lift. Or even down here, it might not be a 300-pound lift. So if I have difficulty here, if I change it some, I might have a better chance. We don't want to stay here too long because there's other things that you can do, and they're dastardly. I mean, I could, if I'm forward here, I might be here. If I raise up to one knee, I could drop my knee right on the solar plexus. I mean, many different things that you could do right here. But I want to show you this nice movement here. If I can't stab him, I take the pommel of my knife and put it into my solar plexus, and I drop my entire body weight on him. You all have seen the movie. That's, but we've been showing that. It's an old martial art technique. And I've been showing that, and this is the way you can defeat the person's strength. Now, we're in a knife-to-knife situation, and now we're going to do the counter I like to call saving Private Ryan. He sees that I'm going to do this, and I'm going to drop my weight. He can't defeat the weight. He takes the pommel of his knife and puts it on his chest. So as I drop down on him, he stabs me. Now, if I've got a Crocodile Dundee knife about this long, and his is just short, combat folder, then I can, go somewhere down deep without him ever touching me. But if the knives are looking similar in length, then I have to worry about this here. So here would be killing Private Ryan, and then here is saving Private Ryan by placing his pommel on his chest and interrupting my downfall upon him. Here is another escape that you can use if you're topside for an empty hand versus knife that has involving that body momentum and drop. But you may realize that you wound up in this position, or he may have fought and wound up in this position because he thinks he can fight down there, and this is a good place for him. He was halfway there, and he battles to get you into this mount guard relationship. And I'll tell you right now, it's a bad neighborhood. Don't go there. Be tricky. Be sneaky. Be somewhere else than where half the country is training these little submission tricks. Remember, you've got a knife. You've got a secret weapon. But at any rate, here we are, and I look down, and I see perhaps on his shirt it says Congress of America Knife Fight. Oh my God, I don't want to be here fighting this guy. He might know what he's doing, Or any tip, he's just strong, and you just realize this isn't working. I've got to get out of here. And so what I'd like to try to do is take the pommel of this knife and get some kind of potential puncture as I go through this motion. But so as not to hurt Tom, I'm going to turn the knife away. But from here, I will raise up and then flip forward and stab. Now this is a very surprise move for him. Suddenly the bad guy is here, and suddenly he's gone. And then suddenly a knife is seeking out his throat from back here. Now the thing is that I hung on to this the entire time, rolled over. I'm not going to play, small target trying to catch this weapon-bearing limb. I like to turn around, seek, and strike the throat. And this is a good, quick removal. You can also do this empty hand escape in a ground zero type situation. Big flip forward, roll over, and then I'd be striking. But in this case, we're stabbing. We call that the Paladin dismount in our fighting system. Here's a situation where you have your combat folder, you can't get to it yet, he's battled to get you into this particular position, and this is a surprise for him if he's playing by a certain set of rules, and you've got a big ugly combat folder in your pocket you're trying to get to. And this is a particularly good one when he's got you and he's punching at me, and I'm trying to cover myself. I'm going to reach down, and as you can, down under here, just lift that leg, down under here is my combat folder that I'm pulling out and opening up. So we'll switch over to this, trainer for safety. And so here we are. Now I'm going to switch this to a reverse grip and start. Just keep punching at me and start with the cut right into the pelvis line, the artery, the tendon, all through here, and drive that blade all the way up. And inside these particular punches. And so what I've got going here, inside, I've cut here, and I'm just driving this knife up. I call this, the autopsy quick draw, because it's pretty close to that, And ride it right up, catch the face, catch the throat, up inside the barrage of punches, which he might not get a chance to stop. From here, if I'm on this side, if I'm fighting for my life and I need to, this collarbone area, the clavicle area, if I drive this down and in, I can get into the top of his heart. I can get into his throat. I can stab up in here. So that what I want to do is cut and pull, and then cut and then pull. And this is a good way to defeat on the street this type of predicament, the autopsy quick draw. I often mention the phrase that you should stop using your knife in a combat scenario after you've disarmed the person or thrown him down, that you should legally, morally, and ethically, bail out of a combat scenario at any time. And that means, do you have the right to kill somebody? It's not just acting like a macho tough guy, because if two men are fighting on a street corner, and one guy started the fight and the other fella is defending himself, and myself or any police officer in America pulls up in the middle of that fight, more than likely both those guys are going to jail. And that fellow who was defending himself $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 later may or may not clear his name. After all that expense, the turmoil, the stigma, all this. And so I tell you that story because if you're using a knife, if you're fighting, it's a bad thing. Fighting is a bad thing. And get ready, because you're going to have hassles. You're going to have expenses, And even if you're defending yourself in a completely justified situation, it's going to be tough for you because it's a negative experience, And so you have to be justified to take the action that you're going to take. And we use the catchphrase, two catchphrases in the policing business: totality of circumstances. And the reasonable and prudent observer, theoretically a judge, who is sitting back there and making an assessment of what you've done. And based upon the totality of circumstances, which you've got to articulate real well, we'll decide if you're in trouble or not. If three men jump you in a dark night in an alleyway, one guy has a knife, and you attack with your knife that one person, you may just wound them. You have two unarmed men continuing to attack you. Well, then you may use your knife on them. Well, why? Well, because it's dark, and there's three of them, and he only may be wounded, and I've got to stop these people. Those are perfectly justified reasons, which you'll have a heck of a time, trying to clear yourself with, but nonetheless, that is self-defense, But all I can say is this, that we are the good guys. And I want people to do the right thing. And when somebody dies, I want, be on the good side of it, be on the right side of it. We don't know about justice, we don't know about right or wrong and the laws of something, but there's something to, the karma of the universe. And I want you to be on the right side, if only for yourself, about any physical action that you take up against anybody.
TRS continues to add new titles to our arsenal of video programs that provide you with the most progressive fighting and self-defense solutions available. Our library of training videos is divided into 4 categories: prevention and avoidance, hand-to-hand combat, gun disarmament, tactical handgun training. Here's a preview of some of what Threat Response Solutions offers you. The first thing to know about life-threatening situations is how to avoid them. In Live Without Fear, former highly decorated U.S. Army Delta Force operative Tom Carter and security specialist Dave Chatelier will teach you how to avoid being a victim and will instill confidence in your ability to recognize danger before it's too late. Our monthly publication, The Red Zone, is the first and final word on aggressive defense. From home security tips to combat training, you'll find everything you need to know right here.
If I get in a little bit closer, bam, this is trapping range. This is the range, boom, where I can take this guy out of commission.
This elite military fighting system is taught by Navy SEAL team trainer Paul Vunak, recognized as one of the world's top street fighters. It will teach you to easily take down trained boxers, karate black belt masters, and thugs twice your size. Knowing these upper-level fighting secrets can mean the difference between walking in fear and standing tall, knowing that you can quickly injure to degree anyone who messes with you or your loved ones. Most street fights are decided on the ground. Learn some of the world's most effective ground fighting secrets, including speed mastery, from ex-Iranian Secret Service agent and frontline soldier Shahram Musavi. Developed from over 12 years of Navy SEAL training experience, Frank Cucci begins by teaching basic fighting skills and then progresses into combination weapons and mass attack defense techniques. Vladimir Vasilyev, former Russian super soldier, reveals Sistema, the centuries-old Russian martial art that was almost lost due to communist suppression. These closely guarded secrets were reserved by the Soviet regime exclusively for elite Spetsnaz soldiers, the most highly trained and feared special force operatives in the world. This quick-to-learn combat system will show you how to defeat attackers by maximizing the power of your natural body mechanics to inflict excruciating pain upon an assailant. Disarm and humiliate an aggressor with devastating precision by using these easy-to-master Russian techniques. Master fighter and teacher Mike Goldbach delivers the next evolution in martial arts. His system is unlike any other in its pure simplicity and pure power. Field tested in some of the roughest skinhead bars throughout the Midwest, Chris Cloyston has chosen offbeat employment opportunities to give him an instant training ground to prove his devastatingly simple fighting principles.
I have gone beyond Bruce Lee and have composed a whole new fighting system.
Kamrat Vaz takes combat JKD to the next level. Chris has rediscovered the time-tested Roman tactics that conquered the planet and will teach you the simple and effective method to dominate any aggressor. It doesn't matter what the other guy does, whether he starts boxing, kicking, grappling, or poking. With this style, you're the winner. A former Green Beret and a victorious veteran of over 600 brutal street fights, Jim West demonstrates dozens of street combat techniques you'll be able to use at a moment's notice. Don't leave home without them.
And one of the worst nightmares that a human being can have, you need to sniff, would be one day walking to your car, go to get in, and have this.
In today's violent climate, criminals use weapons. You may not know hand-to-hand combat. You may not own a firearm, but you must know how to defend yourself against a weapon. Unarmed and Fearless is the most comprehensive program on weapons disarmament ever assembled, presenting over 4 hours of critical information. counterterrorism expert and Army Ranger veteran Bob Taylor and federal law enforcement trainer Randy Warner use live ammunition to prove these techniques work. We highly recommend this program to all of our clients. World-class handgun champion and SWAT trainer Ben Cooley will teach you when and how to react with deadly force. Up to 25% of all violent crimes take place in a victim's home. Don't be a victim. Learn by detailed example how to defend yourself and your family right where you live. Led by Delta Force veteran Tom Carter and Navy SEAL trainer Frank Cucci, participants of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity paid over $4,000 to attend. 4 days of intense personal training in combat-tested hand-to-hand fighting tactics, plus the complete mastery of elite military-level handgun shooting skills. This camp will never be held again, but you don't have to miss out. Threat Response Solutions is here to provide you with the knowledge and training necessary to defend yourself and your family. To purchase any of our intensive video training courses or to learn more about these and other TRS programs, check out our website at www.threatresponse.com or call 1-800-582-2083. Don't be a statistic. Take action now.